and welcome back to the ElevationStyles podcast. Guys, it sounds a bit different. It's me hosting again. So we did an episode in season 1 of the ElevationStyles podcast where I got a guest on and they were talking about their business and of course their accomplishments in life. I think this is great if we have something like this on a continuous basis. You know, we had one episode in season 1, season 2, I want to try to get more guests on. Of course, the first guest is going to be Philo. He just after releasing his book. So Philo, say hi to the guys for us here.
What's up, Brendan? I know it's kind of weird being on the other side here, but it's good to be a guest.
This is brilliant. So this is going to be Let's Vibe, Drink Coffee, talk about how to launch a book in 2023. This is season 2, episode 4 of the ElevationStyle podcast. So Philo just released his book. Philo, do you want to tell them a little bit about your book?
Yeah, so it's called Forgotten Football Clubs.
Brilliant book.
50 clubs across the world, gone but never forgotten. Bit of a mouthful there, but it basically is about 50 clubs all around the world that have either been defunct, dissolved, or merged. Some of them will come back as Phoenix clubs. What I do is I tell the story of these clubs, tell the facts, the figures, the funny stories, and obviously the demise of the clubs, which is not so funny. And I interview some of the fans of these clubs. So I think overall, I have about 25 interviews out of 50. Couldn't get interviews for every club because some of the clubs were 1920s and stuff like that. But it was really enjoyable. It took me 2 years to write. So a lot of hard work went into it.
I will briefly go into that, because there's a couple of questions I have for you, how long it took, the journey, etc. But yes, I remember you talking about Sport and Fingo. Even I never used to know some of the clubs that got dissolved. But then when I was on Philo's Twitter, guys, go check out his Twitter. His Twitter is popping off. When I was in his Twitter, people asking questions about some of the clubs. I never knew about these clubs in there. Now, looking at how some of these clubs, the fans are connected, it's very interesting. People still have an attachment to these clubs, and then the clubs are dissolved, and then it's Philo starts going into the book and then talking about people still remember these clubs. It's just fascinating, the way you have it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm mad into football history and anyway, so football history will never go away. It'll never be forgotten. No pun intended. But it's just something that I'm really, really interested in. And as I said, it all started just from a simple blog that I had that I started back in 2019.
You know what? That's mad. Even Elevation started as a blog. It's mad how if you look at most big brands right now, they start off as a little blog, and then they just keep growing. Now you have a podcast, you have a book, you have Philo. It's incredible. But anyways, guys, I know we could talk all day about but I want to get really into the question. So what does it feel like to have your own book? Give me the feeling
I mean, I suppose it only hit me really when I walked into Eason's in O'Connell Street in Dublin City Centre, and I was like, I'll take a chance here. No, I thought when I was reading this book, it was just going to be online, it'll sell a few copies, and that'd be that. Honestly, just thought, I just always wanted to write a book, and I was like, look, I've done it. But I walked into Eason's, and there it was, with all the sports books, with stuff like Jordan Henderson's all of it.
Oh man, that's incredible.
And it was a little bit emotional because that Eason's is the one where my nana used to buy all my football magazines when I was younger.
Oh man, so that nostalgia.
Yeah, so my nana passed away 6-7 years ago, and the book is dedicated to her. So when I walked in and I saw that, I was like, wow, I made it. And I remember talking to one of my good mates, Paddy, about this a year ago, and he was like, oh man, imagine you got your book into Eason's O'Connell Street. That means you definitely made it. And I was like, well, look, man, that's a dream.
No, man.
And then it happened, and I was just like, and I got so excited, I picked it up and I grabbed the security man. I was like, take a picture.
Yeah, take a picture. I saw that picture on Twitter. I was like, but it just shows, man, dreams do come true. If you genuinely put in the work, dreams do come true. It's in me right now, I'm starting to see results myself personally, and I'm just trying to I can't relate it because I've never released a book, but I can see it on a smaller scale. I'm like, lads, if you're consistent with something and if you keep trying your best, dreams do come true.
Look, there was so many nights where I was sitting there writing a book isn't just writing the book. There's so many small little, you have to get up, motivate yourself to write stuff that, don't get me wrong, there's stuff in the book that has to be put in the book, but it's not exciting. It's not stuff that,
but it has to be there.
But it has to be there. And they're the nights where 2 hours, because I used to work nights. I was in college as well.
I remember that film.
And I was working nights, and I was writing the book at the same time, and trying to stay awake, and I'm like, right, I have to put
I
in the
have
hour.
to do it. I have to
do
put in
2
the
hours
hour,
here.
2 hours, yeah.
But the publisher's like, look, we need this, we need that, we need the first draft. And it just got to a stage where when I started it, I didn't have it really planned out, but halfway through it, I kind of went, right, I need to have a set plan here. So I started doing it club by club, and it made it a little bit easier, but it was definitely nights where I was like, I'm never going to get this done. And but when I finally handed in that final submission, and then it came back and I had to do editing.
Yeah, I remember that as well. I remember that.
Proofreading. The editor sent me 192 questions that I had to answer. Had to go over the cover. All these kind of little things.
But you know what, Philo? It's like people always see the shine, but people never see the grind. And it's so true. People always see the shine, they never see the grind. I said that perfectly there. But it's like, I remember you, Philo, you were going to college, you were working full time, and you're doing your working nights, and then you were also doing your book on the side. Like, guys, this is what it takes to get to that level. Like me right now, I'm full-time in the gym, I work a full-time job, and I work full-time on my brand. You have to start off like this before you start saying, I'm now going to enjoy myself, or like I'm going to now work like doing the things I love to do. And guys, I've seen Philo. There's times Philo was like, I'll ring him, how are you, bro? Or send him a voice note. Like, me, I'm mad for the voice note. And Philo's like, bro, I'm bollocks tired. Like, but right now I'm just doing. And trust me, I've seen him put in the work. Like, I've seen him put in the work. But what are some of the obstacles that you had to face? Like, some serious obstacles.
Yeah, like, the motivation is the biggest obstacle for anybody, I think. You probably know yourself. Sometimes you're like, I just don't
want to do it.
But they're the times that if
when you do it,
you're like, yes,
I did it.
I love it. And I suppose that's where the passion and the
love
for something comes in. Don't get me wrong, as I said, there was loads of times I was like, oh, is this actually even going to be worth it? I mean, I'm selling books, I'm not going to be buying the mansion in California or whatever, like, by selling the books. I don't even know how much I've sold or how much I've made. I won't know that for another couple of months. But I do know that it has sold in 5 different continents.
Wow.
So South America, North America, Canada, Australia, Africa, Europe, Asia. I mean, that's 6 continents.
That's incredible.
So, like, I mean, for me, even if I only sell 1 book in each of those, that to me is an achievement.
Do you know what? Like, because guess what? Whoever's buying that book, you've changed someone's life, and they're like, "Oh my god, I never knew there's clubs like this." Like, it's like when someone gets that book, it's like, yes, you might not see them face to face, but you've given them value. Like, so it's so you're saying your biggest obstacle has to be motivation.
Yeah.
What about time management, etc., like things like that?
I mean,
I find the time management can be
because life, as I said, you have to, well, I'm 32, I was 30 when I started it, so you have to earn a living as well.
You have to work, pay bills.
So that gets in the way. I was in college at the time as well, and I was working nights. So there's very, very little sleep involved, and that's why I was probably always tired.
Even me right now, when I'm like,
like, so yourself. But I suppose you get through it because you have the vision of what the end result is going to be like, and that end result, me walking into that Easton's, even though it's a small thing, maybe some people don't understand how much it meant. But when I had that copy of that book in my hand in Easton's, I was like, this is exactly what I put all that work and all them late nights put in. And there's a lot of people who I don't want to be bitter or anything, but didn't believe that I'd do it either.
No, at the start, bro, no one is ever going to believe you.
And that's a motivator in itself. Like, people, I told people, when I started the blog, I actually wrote a proposal down. I wrote down my vision.
Yes, you always have to. Sorry, Philo. Guys, write down your dreams and goals. I do this now. Write them down.
So that's what I done, and I said I had a team of writers for my blog, and I said, this is what's going to happen. Next few years, I'm going to have a book, and then we're going to branch out and do like, forgotten clubs, Italy, forgotten clubs, Holland, forgotten clubs, Brazil, that sort of thing. And I really do. And at the time, 1 or 2 of them did believe me, but 1 or 2 of them were like, whatever. And even like some of my mates, when I was on nights out, I was saying, I feel I can do this. And they were like, no, people aren't interested. People aren't interested in football history, man. It's all about YouTube and these YouTubers.
YouTube now is so saturated now. Even me right now, like, I'm trying to, like, YouTube is so saturated. It's like, But people like books are there. People say books, but like books now, it's like you know when you put out a book, it's gonna be there for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Like whereas with YouTube, it's so saturated. It's like it's gonna take time. But cut away all that negative energy. You have to cut it away.
It's like people kept saying, "Oh, you need to go viral if you want to make this book success. So you need to like do something. You need to do something mad, like go to like." I know a Rangers game and be like, oh, these are a forgotten club, like just to cause controversy, because that's the thing these days where you have to be controversial to make it.
That's what everyone's watching, but that's what people are used to.
I turned around and and I'm kind of proud of this, that I kind of stood my ground and said, no, I'm going to let my talent speak for myself. I know I'm a good writer, and that's the other thing, I suppose. You need to be confident in yourself, confident in what you're doing.
Yes.
Because if you're not, people will be like, well, if he's not confident in what he's doing, why should I buy into what he's doing?
Why should I buy into his vision?
You need to be confident in what you're doing. That's another thing. Don't get me wrong, there are times where you're like, am I doing the right thing? Am I gonna do
that's
this?
that imposter syndrome.
And it does creep in that you're like, oh, nobody's gonna want to read this. But you need to have that confidence. If you don't have that confidence and you don't have that motivation, I mean, that's basically, for me, that's about 90% of it. There's 5% luck, obviously, and then there's 5% just actually doing it.
Yeah, doing the hard work.
The idea is 5%, because anybody can come up with an idea, but actually implementing it,
exactly. Like, stay in your lane, guys. Stay in your vision. Don't get distracted by other people, because most people, they swerve lane. Stay in your lane. Once you're in your lane, your tunnel vision, you will reach that end of the tunnel. You will reach the goal. Brilliant, Philo. So tell me, what was the most enjoyable and the most least enjoyable things about the book, or like just doing the book in general?
Yeah, I suppose most enjoyable was interviewing people from all over the world and all different cultures. It's not only just interviewing people about the football clubs. These football clubs are from different countries, different cultures. It's not only just about the football either. Like, I mean, when you're researching, say, a club from Finland, you start getting involved in the culture of Finland.
Yes, you're actually researching about them,
sports and everything, like the mindset of Finnish people. Even Albanian, there's a club in Albania, Belarus, Russia, China, Australia, South Africa. Like,
you're touching loads of places,
and you're touching like religious aspects, social aspects, political aspects. Like a lot. There's so many angles of these. Now, to be honest, I do try keep it to a minimum when I'm talking about religious and political aspects, because I think they're controversial. They're for other books. There is other books out there that write about it. I'm just trying to tell the story about football clubs. But I can't get away from it. I have to touch on these sort of things. But talking to the people, interviewing the people, even off the record, not even in the interviews, I keep in contact with these people and talking to them, and they're just fascinating. And that would be the most enjoyable. The least enjoyable part was probably the editing. Because originally I was only supposed to do 75,000 words. Now, in my mind, 75,000 words isn't that much.
Oh, really?
That
sounds like a lot, man.
I actually ended up writing 145,000
words. So you have to cut back.
And I had to cut one or two interviews out and stuff, which I was a little bit disappointed in, because people done the interviews, but it was people who gave in their interviews late. So it was kind of like first come, first serve. So I still thank them in the book, those people who did cut out. And they'll always be part of the book and part of the project. And as I said, I will be looking to write other books, so they will always be part of that. But that was kind of the part I didn't enjoy. I don't like editing, because it's kind of like you work at a piece of art, and then you have to cut it up.
I remember you saying that as well. Like when we were meeting up as well, you're like, yeah, man, the editing is hard. It's hard. And I remember you just having your laptop around. I was like, oh man, it's peak. Like
it's like you work at this piece, and you're like, oh, it's beautiful, and then you're told, you have to like chop it up, crop it basically, and you're like, oh man, but it looks perfect. Can we not just go with this? And they're like, no, they can't. And that's because there's a business side. There's a business side to it that I'm not involved in. But the publishers are thinking, they're spending money on this book. They need to make a profit, and they can't spend over a certain budget, because if they do, they won't make a profit. So I understand that margins and all that. That's the business side, that I wouldn't be entirely happy with, but it's part of and I suppose it's part of football. Football, while it's a creative sport and people want to be creative and enjoy it, there's also that business side of it that has to be looked after, if it is going to be done proper. I suppose it's like any club that features in Forgotten Clubs. They didn't look after the business side. That's
exactly.
where they're gone.
You see, that's where they're gone.
So there's people who look after that for my book. And
you have to take some sort of like a business course, like you need someone who knows a little bit about business. Like
you can't. It's not all just paintbrushes.
Paintbrushes.
Creativeness. There has to be.
There's a lot of things that go in.
But that's the part I don't enjoy.
That I didn't enjoy. No. Thank you very much for that, Philo. So, what advice would you give to someone that's starting up then to write a book?
Right. So, as you said, have a vision.
Vision.
Just a straight vision. So, if you come up with an idea for your book, that's it. Write it down. Do a kind of spider.
The mind map.
Pardon me. They call it spider map.
Spider map. Because like a spider web.
Come up with that. Don't derail from your thought. Don't start. You have the idea. Don't start going, oh well, maybe I'll kind of go into this avenue or that avenue. Don't stick to that idea. Stick to it until you finish it. Then you can go off and do your spin-offs or start a new project or something like that. Just do the one project.
Stay in the lane.
Because if you have 2, 3, 4 projects, you get distracted and you're not putting 100% into the project. That's okay if you're, say, somebody like Drake, who has about 1 million team members who can concentrate and do other things for him. But when you're only starting off and you're a small, you're a small person, because that's not putting you down. You're just a small person, you need to just concentrate on that one thing, and then you can let it grow. Then you can start, once you get that one thing that you plant that seed, let it grow then, and then you can watch the branches and the fruit bear off the trees, I suppose. That's what I would say. Never let anybody derail you. Never let anybody. As I said,
negative comments.
Loads of people with negative comments saying, "Oh, this is a stupid idea."
I remember. I remember Philo. Like even back when we were we used to work together and stuff like that. And you always just say I will do something about football. I remember I would do some. People be like, "You don't know anything about football. You don't know." I was like that's negative energy. Now they looking at you now like, "Oh man, he actually did it. Shit, man, he actually did it. He did it." Now you're like, I told you I'll do it.
I can now turn around and say I'm a published football
author. Author. You are. You are.
Anybody who turns around and says, "Oh, you don't know about football," I'm like, "Oh, well, tell all those people who bought my book." So I know that sounds like a bit of an egotistical thing, but at the end of the day,
you have to be like that.
You have to be like that. You have to turn around and say, "Look, I am the best." I tell people I'm a football historian.
If you want to be the best, you have to act like the best and be the best.
You have to. That's another thing. Never be shy about your accomplishments. There's no point in going out and doing something and then being like, you could be modest about it. You say, look, people help me. People help me. People help me get there. And I wrote all the thank yous in my book. Even for Brendan here, or Twan, as I call him. So I have, I thank everybody that did help me. All my friends, my childhood friends, obviously my mum, my dad, my brother, my sisters, dedicated to my nana. So you do that. You stay humble, but at the end of the day, it's your achievement. You're the one who done it. You're the one who stayed up at night. You put in the work. You put the grind in. So you take that credit. If you don't take that credit now, because there's times, as Brendan there said, you're going to take the criticism. And you're going to have to take the criticism
as well.
So you might as well take the credit while you're at it. Life's too short. So that'll be another thing. That'll be the third thing. Take the credit while you can. Take the good times, because the good times are few and far between.
Mostly hard work.
And a lot of artists, and that's why I call myself an artist, because writing books,
it is an art.
It's an art. Anything like that is an art. And a lot of artists, whether it be Drake, whether it be J.K. Rowling, whether it be myself, or whether it be Brendan here, because what he's doing is an art as well. You have to. They will tell you there's a lot of hard work, a lot of downtime that people. Look, I keep referring to him, Drake, Justin Bieber, and all. They get criticised
as well
by millions every day.
People don't remember when Drake started off. He used to be in a basement. He used to people used to laugh at him. And he would be in that basement for hours. Now looking at you, Phil, you'd be working night shift. You'd be hours doing that book. And guys, you have to put in the time. You have to put in the work. That's the only way to get results. And
just the last thing then is it's never over. So just because I have this one book,
it doesn't
don't
stop.
rest on your laurels. As I said, I'm not going to become a millionaire off this book. But I'll keep going until there's a collection of books, and people want to own the collection of Forgotten Club.
Exactly.
And people are like, oh, I need to get that collection for Christmas, like, the Harry Potter series. All 7 books.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going. And that's all you can do, really. All you can do is keep going, because if you rest on your laurels and you just stick to that one thing, it kind of makes it meaningless.
Yeah, you see. So you keep building on it, like, you keep building on it. And guys, be ambitious, like, ambitious. There's nothing better than seeing guys who are ambitious and they're focused on their dreams and their goals. I feel like these days people just lack that. People are just like kind of like zombies. People just follow the crowd. Like, I used to be like that, and I'm telling you, I've lived that life. Myself and Philip, we've lived that life. We used to follow people, just follow the crowd. Screw that, lads. Go out there, chase your dreams. I'm not just saying leave everything. Make sure you have a decent plan. Okay, I'm gonna have a full-time job while I do this on the side. Until now, this thing now is gonna carry me, and then now I can build myself up, etc. So, Philip, like, our time is cutting short now. Briefly, give us step by step how to launch a book. Then, so of course, firstly, you're gonna come up with an idea. Secondly, you're gonna write. Just briefly, like.
Just briefly, you come up with an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, then find a publisher that will match that idea.
Brilliant.
The publisher will probably ask for a proposal.
Yeah.
So that's your idea, your background, and what you've done. Now, even if you haven't written a book before, don't be afraid. Just kind of pitch them. You're selling yourself basically when you haven't got a book written. You give them an idea. You sell them your idea.
Yeah.
That's basically the main objective of the proposal.
Okay.
You sell your idea to the publisher. And they don't get me wrong, I sold 1 or 2 ideas before and they got rejected.
No.
So I had to come back with different ideas, better ideas. So if you do get rejected for the first idea, you take that rejection, you build on it.
Yeah, you work on it.
And eventually you keep knocking on that door.
The door will open.
The door will open.
It'll open.
And once that opens, you get your foot in and you make it count.
Yeah.
And you keep going. You walk into that door and then you own that house.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what you do. Find a publisher that agrees with you, that suits you. Don't just go to any publisher, because there's different publishers for different types of books, different audiences and stuff like that. I personally went to one that's for like a kind of niche indie kind of sports book.
Okay.
So it applies to my audience that I'm looking at.
Brilliant.
And as well, try get a good social media following as well. That helps when you're going to a publisher, because they can see that while they'll do the media work for you, advertising and all, it also helps that you can do it as well, with your own, because you are going to have to try to sell your book. Once you get you sold it to the publisher, once the book is out there, you then have to start selling it to an audience. You have an audience on your social media account. Then it's easy, but it's hard work, because you have to be doing it every single day. And some days you might even get a like on your post. But you just have to keep going.
Just 0 views, like these days, like, guys, my TikTok, like, I remember 0 views, 0 followers. Now it's like next level. Philo's Twitter, 0 views, 0 followers. Now he's getting like 12k shares and mad things like that. Guys, you start off from somewhere. Like, so okay, so you said they're publishing. So just briefly, keep going there with the process.
Yeah, so as I said,
social media,
then the publisher does basically accepts the proposal.
Yeah.
Then you start writing. As I said at the start, I didn't really have a plan because it was my first book. Halfway through it, I sat down, had a plan, so I'd done it chapter by chapter. So I'd finish one chapter, move on to the next. Then that gets submitted as a draft. Then it comes back to you. This is the editing stage, so if it's a decent publisher, they will hire an editor to do it for you. So you necessarily don't have to do all the editing, but you will have to do some of it, like answer a few questions. In my case, I had to answer 192 questions to the editor. Then there's a proofreading stage, so obviously they hire a proofreader, the editors or the publishers, to read over it to make sure there's nothing in it that is illegal or everything's all,
I remember that.
All good.
It's cool,
The proofreader will then get back to you and say, look, we can't put this in, or we have to change this, blah blah blah. It's quite a quick succession. And then the editor will have a publishing date when it's going to come out. They'll put it out on platforms like Amazon, and they'll put it into shops like Eason's over here in Ireland, WH Smith, online and in shops, Waterstones. And then what happens is online, then it's pretty much a free-for-all. Like, I mean, I've looked online and it's in bookshops, online bookshops in America, Australia, Booktopia, Barnes and Noble in America are selling it. Different prices. I think there's like 20 different sellers on eBay. So people bought it and now are selling it on eBay at their own price. So it kind of then spirals off, and the selling becomes becomes kind of multi-viral.
Yeah.
And then after about 8-9 months, there's a kind of thing called a royalty run, where they basically give you everything that you're owed.
Oh, wow.
Now I only get a percentage of what I sell, because obviously the publishers get majority of it, because they did put in a lot of the work.
Yeah, true.
But I get a percentage of it. But once you get that first book out, you can then negotiate.
A little bit more.
Can I get more percent?
Because now I already have a following.
I'm an artist. You're kind of selling yourself out at the start just to get your foot in the door. But that's fair enough.
That's what you have to do.
You have to do what you have to do. And that's basically all the stages of writing a book and selling it.
Philo, thank you very much for this, man. This is brilliant. Like, honestly, it's even giving me now the like encouragement to like probably do a fashion book in the future, like have more accomplishments done. But like for like some lads, like they may be like a bit scared, like they don't know what to do. But guys, like if you need Philo, tell them where they can find you actually.
Yeah, find me on
now you have a podcast as well.
Yeah, Forgotten Football Clubs on Twitter.
Yeah.
Forgotten Football Clubs on Instagram. DM me if you have any questions or anything like that about stuff like that. We also have a podcast out, Forgotten Football Club.
Yes.
Great
podcast.
We're the third episode will be coming out soon, where we basically just take 2 clubs from the book that feature in the book and talk about it. We have the guests that I've interviewed in the book on it. Me and Rory, the Scottish lad who also presented with me, he has a degree in something like football history and stuff like that. So so he's quite knowledgeable in that regard as well. So I surround myself with people that know what they're talking about.
You have to be with people that know what they're talking about. Yeah.
But so if you have any questions, do contact me, and of course buy the book.
Yeah, of course, guys. No,
it's
in essence, it's online, guys. You find it there. It's honestly a great book, So Philo, thank you again for coming on to the Elevation Podcast. Sure, look, Philo is always there, but like this time, thank you, for let me ask you the questions.
Yeah.
And honestly, we're super proud of you, Philo, with the book. Guys, go check it out. It's out now. Forgotten Clubs. You know where to find it. Links will be in the description. We'll see you on the next episode.
See you there, lads.